Lights, camera, action. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. I'm Cam.
I'm Priya. This is Milo.
This is the F1 My Life podcast. This is the
Race for Japan.
post-Japan race podcast. Why is this so? Why?
I don't know why we're awkward today.
I don't know, man.
I feel very awkward.
We're always tired though.
I'm tired today.
Yeah.
I'm tired today.
I think I'm just trying to remember the race and everything that happened.
Honestly, it was boring.
Yeah, because the race was kind of
boring.
Standard, straightforward. But
yeah, it was your normal, right?
yeah, I mean, not normal. Like, what do you consider? Like,
Logan Sargent couldn't get past last place no matter how many cars were out.
I mean, it was pretty uneventful, I should say.
There was an uneventful red flag.
Yeah, but that happens in F1 sometimes. Some races you don't expect to be super exciting, but they're exciting. And then some races are just you're like, oh, it's going to be interesting. And then it's pretty straightforward. So this is one of those straightforward races. I have to yawn now.
I'm so sorry. I tried to stifle it, but that thing happens. It's when I'm turning towards you. It hurts.
Have you ever had a yawn where you
swallow it?
No, where you pull a muscle in your neck because you
I
yawn?
said that to you last week.
No,
and you're
you said
should talk to a doctor.
You said when you breathe in too hard that you it hurts. I'm like, go see a doctor for that for sure.
When
Stop
you
yawning.
stifle a yawn. I need coffee. Anyways.
I've had that happen when I'm eating a burger. Have you ever?
Oh yeah, and you feel like you're having a stroke.
And it
yes.
pull a muscle down here. It's a stupid. And once I was eating a burger, and it happened to me 3 times in a row. And I was like, ah, and I was sitting there, and I was like, and I was massaging it, and then I did it again, and I'm like, oh my god, it happened again. And I was like, look, I'm just staring at this burger because I was so hungry, and I wanted to eat it, and I kept pulling a muscle in my neck, and I'm like, this is so dumb. I was I'm like, what do I do? It's do I mash it like baby food and just, slurp it?
I'm going to start crying because it's happened to me so many times.
God. What are we talking about then, dude?
Yeah.
The race was pretty standard. Max Verstappen won.
And then
Sergio Perez got second where, he should be.
When to finish.
This guy's racing for his life right now.
When to finish.
Yeah.
Red Bull.
For Red Bull, which is what they expect out of him. So he raced pretty well.
And then Sainz got third.
Yeah.
P3.
Sainz
Give that man a job, please.
I think he's been on podium, every race now? Mm-hmm. If not, majority.
He won Australia, so that was great.
I read something like that where they're he's been on podium, every single time, which is insane for a driver who's being, shafted from, Ferrari, taken out of Ferrari.
Well, yeah.
The second driver, aka Charles Leclerc, I don't even think he's touched podium this year, has he?
No.
I can't recall, but Sainz is clearly...
Leclerc just can't... We've said it before, and it's funny because these themes just keep prevailing where it's Leclerc can put his car where it needs to be in quali sometimes.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the race, he's just not putting it all together anymore. It's just he went wide, he lost a position, he almost got backed up into Norris. Him and Sainz ended up obviously not being he ended up being slower than Sainz. I know what Leclerc outwardly represents for Ferrari.
What does he represent?
Just I don't know, this whole dream of and I know what Ferrari represents to Leclerc is that whole thing with his, godfather and Jules and how he always wanted to race for Ferrari and da-da-da-da. I get it. It's great. It's a wonderful story and he's the golden boy, but he's not.
Is he though?
He's not.
I'm over here thinking, the thought that just crossed my head is what is the... I felt there was a big hype around Charles Leclerc when he got signed to Ferrari from Alfa Romeo. And he came to Ferrari and they're all oh yeah, Charles Leclerc. And I think he does perform you're saying in quali, but he never puts it together really in races.
It's been 2 years since he really put it together consistently.
I mean, at least with Carlos Sainz on his team, I feel it's Sainz is, at least right now, he's outperforming him. I just don't understand the allure of Charles Leclerc. I don't get it.
Unless you're a 16-year-old girl, I don't think you're going to understand.
I know, he's so handsome.
Charles Leclerc.
He's a handsome dude.
But he can't put it together. Sainz can keep it together, put it together, and mail it. he's done it this entire season, which
Yeah,
is
dude.
wild.
Yeah.
And last season he was doing really well too. He just obviously didn't have like a car behind him that was actually like shooting him to the top. Like he's got it
McLaren?
all dialed in. Signs.
McLaren? Who was he in before?
Do you know about our podcast? Signs. He was
Yeah.
with Ferrari. This is his second year.
Yeah, no, but before that he was McLaren. He was a McLaren driver. That's what I'm
Yes.
saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
He did okay.
Even with
McLaren.
McLaren, he was doing fine. He
Yeah.
did fine with every team he's been on.
Yeah.
And Daniel Ricciardo just keeps kicking him out of places.
Yeah.
But now it's different. Now it's Lewis Hamilton kicking him out of a place.
Yeah.
But like when it okay, so whatever. We're gonna talk about the Grand Prix first.
So I guess do you have the results? So I mean, the results were kind of what the results were, right? Nothing to really go over. One thing I will say is that I mean, people who are being consistent are being consistent. We're seeing Max Verstappen win, save like last race when he DNF'd because of a technical issue. But you're pretty much seeing like Max where Max should be. Perez is kind of like he did get P2 this race, but he's been a little inconsistent there. And then we're seeing the Ferraris.
He has not been inconsistent this year. Every time Max
No,
has been
like
first, he's been second.
Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe
He
I'm
got
wrong.
points when in Australia when
All
Max
all I
didn't.
remember is like Perez. Maybe I'm thinking last year. Like
yeah, last year he sucked.
going up and down and everything, but they need him to be P2, so he was P2. And then we have the Ferraris like behind the Red Bulls. And then the interesting thing is
You need to get
I love that we're seeing like Lando Norris is up there and Alonso is up there, and those guys are so interesting because I feel like if anything does happen, or for whatever reason, if Red Bull or Ferrari gets the setup wrong, you could easily see Norris or Alonso make all that work. And then I feel like Lewis Hamilton and George Russell we're seeing within the like P6 to P10 spots when they're like ending races, and then everybody else down the whole thing is.
I feel like McLarens are doing really well. I feel like they're actually like they're doing well. Piastri's doing great. Like he's been top 10 every single race, which is fantastic.
Well-
but it was cool to see. I mean, like I'm not a big fan of Yuki Tsunoda. I'm more of a fan of his, which is saying something. Actually, no, I'm equally not a fan of George Russell and Yuki Tsunoda. I personally think I'm more of a fan of George Russell than I am of Yuki Tsunoda. But it was nice to see the Japanese driver win a point in the Japan Grand Prix. What were you going to say?
I'm like indifferent. I mean, I'm indifferent to Yuki Tsunoda because like I don't know if it's just the car or whatever, but he doesn't do much for me in terms of like being a driver personality. Like he's just another driver on the grid. Like I love like Verstappen, Perez, Sainz, Leclerc, sometimes Norris, Alonso. Like I love watching all them race, but like quite honestly, everybody else, I like to see the Haas's do well, but everybody else, even Albon when he like races and like he's been showing a lot of promise, but everybody else doesn't really like. They're not really like moving the needle for me, really.
Yeah.
You know.
It's interesting though because like obviously we had a couple people not finish. So Albon and Ricardo had a lap 1 incident, so they took each other out. I think it was just a racing incident. It was what it was.
That's what they said.
It
That's
it
what it
is
was
what it
chalked up
is.
to.
You know, Zhao had some issues with his car. Nobody's really all that surprised. Sargent finished? Oh yeah, +1.
Yeah.
He can't ever be. It's like you could knock out everybody and he would still find a way to be last. Like I don't understand how he does it.
So
like
rude.
It's true. It's so true.
Yeah, man.
He's like the Mick of like just crashing and not like making it past anything.
Yikes.
Who was the other guy that George was driving with before? Latifi.
in
He's
Williams?
the Latifi. He's the new Latifi.
Why are you always hating on the Canadians?
Is Latifi Canadian?
so- yeah,
Sargent's
man.
American.
Latifi and
Sargent's
then
American.
Stroll? Jeez.
Sargent's American. I'm in Canada. I love Canada.
Yeah, man.
So obviously those are the people that didn't finish. I did not think Japan was all that exciting. So I mean, like it wasn't exciting, but that's fine. I think a lot of things have happened though since the race or during the race that I feel need to be addressed.
Yeah, and with all that said, we're recording this podcast about a week later, but we got China next week, which is going to be, well, first of all, we're going back to China, and
Crazy.
second of all, it's going to be a sprint race, first sprint race. So that's always like interesting to see.
Yeah.
There's
I'm
been
excited to go back to the Chinese Grand Prix.
Yeah, there's been a lot of debate also about the sprint format and whether it's like
Mm-hmm.
necessary and whatnot. I mean, I feel like anytime you have a change in Formula One, like drivers have
Opinions.
opinions about it. It
Yeah.
is what it is. Even when DRS came,
Oh
even when the
yeah.
Halo was
Oh yeah.
implemented, people were like saying they didn't like it and this and that until they saw how effective it was. And I think the same kind of applies with DRS. Like
Yeah.
people were a little skeptical, had their, opinions about it, but I think overall it makes the racing a little more interesting.
It does. No, and now that they're putting it on like the first lap instead of waiting, you know what I mean?
Oh
Like
yeah,
that's so cool.
that's fun. I like
Yeah.
that. Because so many cars, it's like after 3 laps, if they're quick enough, they can get a bit of an advantage. And the whole purpose of DRS is to keep things like more competitive, right? To
Yeah.
give people behind
Well, when
advantage.
you're launching after the first, when you're doing the first lap, you've got
Yeah.
that whole, crazy mess. And then it's like you've got DRS enabled. It's
Yeah.
just a whole separate picture.
But the thing is like in certain cases, if you have a driver, even if you look at like Max Verstappen in this case, like if there's any given race where he has half a second or even a third of a second
Yeah.
on the driver behind, in 3 laps, he's going to be at a DRS range.
It
So,
took him time to build his gap this time.
yeah,
And he still drove off into the distance. It wasn't like, it really wasn't
Yeah.
that much of a gap, but it did take time to build that gap. So that was really interesting
yeah,
to see. I liked watching Sergio get back to the top. That was really cool. Like it was like every turn, not even every lap, every turn he was passing someone. It was like he was passing Hamilton, he was passing Leclerc, he was passing everyone he needed to pass in order to make that 1-2 finish. And this is what I'll say about Perez. Last year, he was horrific. Like, he just did not function well
Yeah.
as a driver.
yeah,
And a Red Bull. Like, in any other team, sure, but not in a Red Bull. This year, a lot of drivers, so like, okay, kind of Yuki Tsunoda, Daniel Ricciardo for sure, Carlos Sainz and Sergio Perez know for a fact that they have something that they need to prove. Perez needs to prove that he is the driver for Red Bull. Carlos needs a seat for next year. Ricciardo is no longer, I don't think, trying to get to Red Bull. He's just trying to keep a seat. And Tsunoda wanted that seat with Red Bull. That's not going to happen either. And that fire lights under you either like success and you're able to put it all together, or it drives you to not do well. So I think the top two people, Perez and Sainz, are demonstrating that they're here in Formula One, they're here to stay. I think, and I will say it time after time, I said this back when Danny was in McLaren or when he went to Alpine. I was like, he's done. He is not going to be a world champion. I felt like that was the decline of Daniel Ricciardo leaving Red Bull. I can 100% with certainty say that he is now fighting for his seat at AlphaTauri, whatever, the long-ass name. And he just can't, like the stress is getting to him too much. He can't put it together.
One thing I will push back on is I don't think Perez is really, I don't know. I feel like Perez is more at risk than it seems to be making it. Like, I think given who's available, and I mean, we are still pretty early in the season though, so we're like, stop looking at me like that. So
I want you to say what you're going to say because I'm very confused.
I need to see more. I need to see more races.
You don't think Sergio Perez is at risk?
No, I think he's more at risk than not.
Of course
being,
he is.
Of being taken out of Red Bull. But I think that's given the whole science situation and stuff like that. But
Of course he is.
I don't know. This we're still very early on. Like we still have to see a few more races, like how things, and there's development. Like, and that's what I'm excited for. Is like the second half of the season. I'm excited to see like where Norris ends up. I'm interested to see where the Aston Martins go because last year they started strong and they fell back, and I don't think they want to do that again. And like Lawrence is very like they've committed again. I mean we can jump into that, but they signed.
I'm going to take you back to Perez before you jump into Lawrence. Of course he is under immense
Jeez.
fire. He was under immense. The thing at Red Bull is that they will drop you at the dime of a
Drop of a hat.
drop of a hat. They will drop you at a drop. They'll
Whoa. Analogies, dude. Ever heard of them?
they'll eject you from your seat whenever they want. Like,
They'll drop you at the dime of a horse. Huh?
I didn't say that.
No one knows what
say
you
that.
said, man.
They'll drop you, and that's fine. But like,
Jeez.
the thing is like not only so it's the caliber of both drivers. So like, I know Mercedes has an open seat, but it's like not only is Sergio at risk because of his demonstrated lack of efficiency last season, where Christian was like, we could have done this all with just Max.
Word.
But also, it's harder now for Red Bull if they were even considering Carlos Sainz, because Sergio is doing 1-2 finishes. He is exactly where they need him to be. Why would Red Bull take a risk with Sainz if Sergio's giving them exactly what they want right now?
I'll answer that question for you. Because I don't think Sainz is as much of a quote-unquote risk than Perez is. I think Sainz is a
I was
more...
going to say that, but you didn't let me finish my point.
I think Sainz is a more consistent driver than Perez. And
Don't read my notes again.
And I said it first, and it's on the podcast, so it's my idea, not yours.
I'm taking my notes out of Cam and Priya.
Interrupting
And I'm going to put them under my
so
email.
much. Yeah, no, I think Sainz is a more... I think Sainz is a more consistent driver compared to Perez. But we'll see. I mean, I don't see... The thing is, if Perez were to drop off in half of the season, I'd be like, okay, it makes sense.
Yeah.
If Sainz were, I would be like, what's going on with Sainz?
Yeah.
This is weird.
Yeah.
That's the difference. So... And the thing with Perez last year that I don't understand is like you have to look at, the thing is you have the moniker of Max Verstappen. Mm-hmm. He's like the pinnacle of like the best driver in the best car right now. Mm-hmm. So if you're in the exact same car and driving around the track and you're not performing, if you're not getting P2s, then it's you. It's not me, it's you. You know what I mean? The car is like, it's not me, it's you.
So Mercedes is obviously the same story.
Yeah, dude.
So it's not the car, it's Lewis.
Oh, snap. Yeah.
But
I feel like every podcast we like hate on Lewis a little bit. And how much he's struggling.
So soft.
We'll go back into that, man.
So like
I'm not soft.
Jeez. I feel like 100% Red Bull has a huge decision to make. And that's what I was going to say is that if the driver's not consistent, I can understand why. I mean, in Helmut Marko doesn't even like, Sergio Perez. So it makes sense that I don't know how much decision-making power he has anymore, but whatever. But I feel like that's like my conundrum with Perez and Sainz is like if you have a consistent driver who is able to even get like P1, albeit when Max was out of the race, then yeah, maybe I guess it is okay to take a risk on them, but it's a big risk to take because they know Sergio Perez. And if he continues to be consistent, why would they necessarily rock the boat? But that's that. So
We'll see what happens.
Aston Martin is staying with Alonso.
Mixed it up, Alonso is staying with Aston Martin. Words.
And unfortunately, like,
Put them in the right order.
Do they ever? You're a lot today.
I know, man. Because the energy was low on the last one. I'm trying to pick it up for this one.
I know, but it's like coming out aggressive at me. I don't like it.
Also say it right.
So, like, does Lance Stroll ever have a contract? Like, do they ever, like, say, like, oh, Lance Stroll's here through?
Dude, his contract is called a birth certificate.
No, but like, you know what I mean, though? Do they, like... it's like through 2026.
Does it matter?
I don't know, because it's like, what if...
I think everybody knows, though. They're like, doesn't matter if he has a contract, as long as his dad's...
Lawrence should
as long as he's got daddy.
Like, Lance from that seat and make room for somebody else.
Dad or daddy. Hey, daddy. Probably daddy. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying, though, right? I'm just kidding. We love Lawrence Stroll. Please be a guest on our podcast that we film in our basement.
I don't even know how to segue from that.
Dude, you're right though. I don't know. I really don't know what his contract is, but he must obviously he does like have a contract, but I'm pretty sure it's just like obviously he doesn't care. But we'll see what happens, man, because a lot of people have been like talking about Lance, and he's been like talking about like, oh, I
Golfing.
like to golf now, so
Yeah.
maybe he'll start golfing. It's
Obviously
like,
not snowboarding or biking.
yeah, I saw this hilarious meme where they're like, it showed like it's like Lawrence buys steak and like the Montreal Canadiens, which is like the hockey team, and they cut to a clip
Oh
of
no.
Lance in like a Montreal
Oh
Canadiens
no.
jersey skating around the rink or what. He must have been skating around there for like just
Lance
like
wouldn't make it.
a
Lance,
guest
don't do
skate
it.
or something.
You
But they,
wouldn't make
I
it.
was
You
like,
won't
oh
make
my
it. You
god,
won't make it. You won't make
hockey,
it.
yeah, hockey is no joke.
So, oh my gosh, I have so much I want to talk about. It's not the time though. So my favorite part of the Japanese Grand Prix was when the cameraman, I don't know who the cameraman was, but you know exactly what you were doing. Daniel Ricciardo's out of the race,
Yeah.
and they like zoom in to like the pit wall, and Daniel's talking to his race engineer, and Liam Lawson is standing right behind him. And he's just looking on like this. And it's like that cameraman had some spice in his coffee that day. Because Liam is waiting. Liam's like, I'm doing just as well, if not better, than like Daniel. At least I was able to keep it on the track.
I mean, it's just an innocent shot. It
It's
all
not
comes
just
down
innocent shot.
It all comes down to
Daniel
what you want to
Ricciardo
interpret.
has been given warnings. Like he's been given multiple warnings. He is
You
not
think
finishing.
you think they throw Liam Lawson in there though?
I think they throw anybody in that car. I think Daniel Ricciardo is done. Screw Red Bull. You don't even get a
Should
seat
bring
in
back
Red Bull.
Grosjean.
Grosjean's doing very well in his sport.
He's in Indy right now.
But I don't know, didn't he talk to Daniel and be like, maybe this just isn't the sport for you, you know? I don't know how to do a Grosjean accent. But like Daniel needs to just like think about what he's going to do after Formula 1 because I don't think that this is it for him anymore.
Yeah.
It's done.
Yeah. It right now that's what it looks like.
It's done. Sonoda deserves a seat more than he does.
I think the likelihood of him getting a resurgence here is like it doesn't seem very likely. I don't know, man. I don't know what maybe that is it. Maybe something else is going on with him that we don't really understand, but it's not F1 is just doesn't seem like it's there for him anymore. I don't know.
Whatever it is, he lost his mojo when he left Red Bull. Done.
Yeah.
Case in point. Like it's done. It's done for him. It's done.
Yeah.
He's done. Love Danny color commentating, just done. Vettel could come back though.
Oh, snap. Are we going through all that?
Yeah.
Potential new drivers?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's rumored. This is so weird.
He wouldn't.
I mean, it
He
seems like
wouldn't.
he might because from what he's saying and what Toto Wolff is saying and what Lewis Hamilton is saying, like you have all these people saying these offhanded things.
Well,
like,
they
yeah,
just like
Vettel,
to add some salt and
Vettel's-
stir the pot.
Yeah.
You know, everyone just likes to do that. It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
Have you never started a rumor just to see where it would go?
Really haven't though, you know.
I have
you?
never.
Oh yeah. Cool.
I've never.
Cool.
Never.
No, but I mean,
I really haven't.
I feel like where there's in Formula One, and we said this before, is like where there is smoke, there's probably fire, at least some kind of sparks.
Yep.
So I think maybe I think with Mercedes they're looking at all options, and when you're running an F1 team, you want to, you want to feel out all your options first,
Yeah.
as likely or unlikely as they may be, and then you just go with whatever option you feel is the best one. So I'm sure, I'm sure, obviously, I mean, we saw Carlos and his manager leaving the hospitality center. If there's some talks with Vettel, I mean, they have an open seat. I'm sure they want
have an
like
open seat, yeah.
they want a veteran driver in there or
Well, no,
somebody
Kimi-
with some kind of experience. So it's like I'm sure they.
Kimmy's the new driver. Kimmy's not the old driver. It's a new Kimmy. It's a new Kimmy.
I'm sure if they've they could reach out to Vettel and be like, "Hey, are you interested in driving?"
No,
That
of
could be
course
it.
they could.
They don't even have to send him a contract. Just be like, "Hey, would you ever see yourself coming back to F1?"
Yeah.
And he could be like, "Yeah, maybe, I don't know." And then all of a sudden, rumor mill hits.
Yeah.
And then they are starting to ask everybody about their like, "What do you think? What do you think?" So
Exactly.
could be anything. Could be nothing.
It could be, so like Vettel, fine, could be one. Like Carlos for Mercedes, I think that that's what it's looking like because of the whole like 2+1 deal, 1+2 deal. I'm going to finish my sentence even though you can't remember your thoughts after
No,
you
I
say
have to say
them.
something.
So, like, what?
I have to say something.
You have to go pee. What?
I saw a rumor that they said that he was extended a 2-year contract by Mercedes.
I was getting there, but that's fine.
Got there first.
This is the same thing. You're not allowed to access my notes
I
anymore.
didn't read your notes.
But like, there was this whole concern over like what Mercedes wanted, what Carlos wanted, and I think at this point, Mercedes wants Carlos more than Carlos needs Mercedes. And what I mean by that is this: a team is going to pick up Carlos Sainz. It was just like what happened with Perez, like when he was Force India and stuff like left, and he needed a seat, and Esteban Ocon had the seat, and Lance got the other seat. I think it was
Lance.
Lance. For someone who doesn't like score points as much or doesn't keep it on the track, like he gets a lot of airtime for us. Lance Stroll.
I know. Shouts to Canadians.
Cool, but like he needs a seat, and anyone's gonna give him a seat, and he'll rise up. Like he'll rise where he needs to be. Like if it's the difference between Carlos Sainz leaving the sport and any of even the lower teams dropping somebody, like I'm 100% sure Vowles would drop Logan Sargent in a heartbeat just for Carlos Sainz. You know, I'm not saying he's going to Williams, but like nobody's gonna let Carlos Sainz just like leave Formula One at this point.
I feel like he should let Logan Sargent go. Given what Albon does in that car.
I mean, like he didn't do great like for the last 2 races either.
Hey, dude,
he hasn't done great. Like Albon hasn't even scored for the
Well,
last 2
I
races.
mean, like because he was in a wall for the last one. But when he does race,
Williams is just struggling overall. They literally like have the most crazy strategists because they need Hail Marys just to make points.
Hey, dude, Alpine is struggling. Williams,
I have to talk about Alpine in a second, but like when it comes to Mercedes, I think that they're gonna give Carlos as much as he wants, not like a silver platter, because I feel like that's what Lewis Hamilton got from them, and I don't think Mercedes is as competitive anymore, so they can't give him everything that he would want. But I feel like Carlos and Mercedes would work well together until Carlos is able to make it into an even better team.
I mean, yeah, that's all rumored though, because Mercedes has been touting this like Antonelli kid.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Yeah.
I forget his first
Kimi
name.
Antonelli?
Yeah, Kimi Antonelli. They are talking about getting him, but nothing's ever 100%.
Oh, what about
100%.
Mick?
Aww. Oh yeah.
Oh, Mick doesn't get a spot?
Who's Mick? Who's
Schumacher?
Who's that guy again? I totally
Yeah,
forgot.
he's been sitting in the background. I want to turn.
Dude.
I want to race.
How much must it suck for Mick to be like, you know, he's sitting there being like, what about me, guys? Like,
F1's cutthroat,
they're not
babe.
even he's not even in the conversation.
No,
That's so sad.
people brought him up at the beginning. Mick Schumacher's not going to drive for Mercedes right now.
You were like a marketing shtick. Let's be real. They wanted the Schumacher name in Mercedes just to like,
and they got it
for the nostalgia, and now you're good. Like,
they bring you out for parties and cocktail
you're
events.
cool. You're the Daniel.
Speeches.
Yeah, dude, you're the Daniel Ricciardo of Mercedes.
That's even too high of a praise.
God.
That's too high of a praise. Alpine, everyone keeps talking about how like they're gonna get sold, except or like acquired by like another company. Have you been hearing that? Because they're doing so poorly.
I haven't.
I actually read something today about it.
Otmar left at the perfect time.
Otmar got canned. So no, this was actually on F1's exclusive. The team is absolutely not for sale. Bruno Femin on Alpine's future and their hope for recovery.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really sad.
I mean, we'll see, man.
We are not for sale.
I was telling you this the other day. It sucks that like so many of these celebrities bought stake in that F1 team.
Yeah.
You see them taking all these pictures, and Pierre Gasly's going to like basketball games and stuff, and Ryan Reynolds is in the garage.
It's a really fun team.
And they're like the worst team on the grid right now.
I feel like I knew that was going to
ridiculous.
happen. I feel like I knew it was going to happen. They were just like so invested in like everything outside of the team.
You got to balance like
you got to focus on the team.
The racing and then the money and the
everything else comes
and
second.
The media and everything. It's like if you bend too much one way, it's gonna snap back the other. It's just I find it hilarious that so many celebrities are like all these influential celebrities are like, you know, with them and invested in them, and they absolutely suck. They must be like, yo, this is.
Speaking of influential celebrities,
what's up?
This is like the only other thing that I wanted to talk about. So I find it interesting that, so like Lewis Hamilton has started talking about what he would do after the sport. And it's not like he's leaving because he signed like a multi-year contract with Ferrari, but he is like planning his leave ultimately because he will leave. And Cam's going to throw like the, apparently like the going away party because he's going to be so sad. But
Such a hater.
I'm not a hater. It's just funny. So like he's been talking to there was an article about him about how he was talking about all the greats like Michael Jordan and Serena Williams and all these different people in sports and how they've retired from the sport or how they've gone on to the next part of their career. And I think we talked about this maybe years ago, but like people like Lewis Hamilton have actually done really, really well in Formula One, not only as a driver, but in like setting their careers up, like fashion and film and drinks. And like Lewis has a brand, right? Like Leclerc has a little bit of a brand as well, but like Lewis has a really great brand. And I find it interesting because he's like, I've put in the 10,000 hours that I need to put in to become a very great Formula One driver, world champion, like a multi-year world champion. I've done great for the sport. But I found it so interesting when he was talking about like his future. Because it's interesting that he's talking about it now, even though he's still in the sport, because I feel like you don't hear about that a lot from people. Vettel only started talking about his post-career the year that he left, that everyone knew he was already leaving. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but then again, Lewis Hamilton is unlike any other driver that's ever
Right.
really been in the sport.
Right.
Like, he is insanely successful in Formula One, but he also has, like, unmatched star power. Like, he
Yeah.
is very connected with a lot of different celebrities and people. I mean, he's been knighted
Yeah.
for crying out loud. I mean,
No, he's done really well for himself
he's
in the
he's
sport.
he's definitely like going to do things outside of Formula One, but he is a superstar
I'm
at the end
glad.
of the day.
I'm glad that he's going to Ferrari because I feel like he needs to try something different before
Yeah.
he does go because he was only with McLaren and then Mercedes.
I think it's multifaceted though for him to go to Ferrari. I think he wants to drive for Ferrari. I think he does want to try to win again, but I think there's also a level of influence that comes with being a Ferrari driver.
100%.
as
Yeah. 100%. Look
So-
at like what it affords so many different drivers.
Yeah,
That brand,
he might get, or maybe he just wants some like dope Ferraris before he retires.
that.
You know,
I mean, I
because they're
would-
gonna give him some kind of sick Ferrari.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll give him like a one of one Ferrari
Of course.
while he's driving for them, like a custom. You know, so
He should.
yeah. What else we got?
That's it.
That's it for the notes.
That's all for my notes.
Are you sure? Can I take a look?
Yeah, I crossed everything off and I'm never sharing my notes with you ever again.
You didn't share them with me. I didn't
I know
see
you've
them.
been reading them at night.
How?
You have access to the
How,
Cam and
Sway?
Priya.
Was that it? Really? I feel like there was like more stuff.
That's all I got. That's all my rumor mill said. I don't start them, I just report them.
Are you
That's
sure?
it. Yeah.
Driver shakeups, things of that nature. Nothing. I guess there's no. I mean, the rumor mills with people going here and there are abundant. You know, but we'll see. I think
I think we'll know more in the coming 2 weeks.
as of doing this podcast, though, there is like a rumor that there was a contract sent to him
Yeah.
by Mercedes.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's gonna be sick if we find out like where and when he ends up going. But he's at this point, the longer, and I said this before,
Yeah.
the
You're
longer
right.
he's in F1 and the more he's winning, the more leverage he gets in terms of like
Exactly.
where he wants to go. So it'll be interesting. I'm curious to see what happens to him.
I am too. It should be good. I'm excited for the Chinese Grand Prix.
Yeah, dude.
It's going to be fun. Next week.
All right, I'm ready for a nap.
All right. Sounds good. We're going to get coffee.
All right. As usual, are we signing off?
Yeah.
As usual, make sure you guys subscribe to us on Spotify so you can watch the whole thing. We are on YouTube. I try to post them mostly on YouTube as much as I can. And then obviously we're on Instagram, Instagram Reels. We post little clips there. It's probably where most people see a lot of us. TikTok
Tickety-tock.
and YouTube Shorts as well. So
Tickety-tickety-tock.
make sure you guys follow us on anything and everything that you're on. Let us know what you think. Let us know if you have any questions, comments,
Concerns.
concerns. Yeah. Or if you want to just hate on us too.
Please
Which-
don't
which a
hate
lot
on
of-
me. It's
which
not
a-
the week for me
which
to
a lot-
do that.
a lot
I'll
of people-
cry.
I don't show you a lot of the like dumb comments, but it's all good. There's not that many though. Most people actually like engage and talk to us, but it's funny every now and then.
Last time there was some people that were like, "Do we even know what's going on in Formula One?"
Like, what is your podcast?
Yeah.
It's like, dude, it's not ESPN.
Yeah.
It's a couple people in a basement just recording a podcast, you know?
Does it look like we know
relax.
what we're doing?
God. So thank you guys for watching. Thanks for commenting and everything. And we will catch you on the next one after the Chinese Grand Prix.
Yay.
Bye.
So weird.
I'm holding it.